Erev Tov Chavrim, I'm Stephen Ben-Nun. You're watching Israeli News Live. Kind of a quick take of our broadcast here. Bring you up to speed, things that are going on. We're just getting here into Paris, covering the United Nations resolution, going back, I guess, to Resolution 2334, trying to force a two-state solution on the Israeli people and as well as on the Palestinian people. I know the broadcast my wife did just the other day on her channel, Rise Up Children of God, where she interviewed a couple of Israeli women there. Very insightful to find out that the majority of Palestinian women would never want a second state or a Palestinian state to begin with, because no doubt they will go under Sharia law. But before we go to this, get to this route here, I wanted to bring your attention to some other breaking news that is happening today. General Mateus really came out against Russia and China and put them in the same boat as terrorists. The title of the article you're seeing here, Russia, terrorists, and China threaten world order, U.S. ready to engage. Now he was, General Mattis was there for confirmation hearing as the Secretary of the Military, and it's just very concerning, some of the things that, the way he answered these things. And I'm really kind of baffled, friends. I really am when it comes to his words. He'll be taking the place of Ash Carter right now. And, but you think about President-elect Donald Trump has talked about trying to work with Russia, trying to make an ally with Putin, and at the same time, the drum beats of war could not be more clear than they are right now. And he was really grilled with a lot of different questions today on Capitol Hill, and he clearly made it known that Russia, terrorists, and China threaten world order. What world order? The New World Order. That's where the threat is. It's a threat to the New World Order. Now, I have made the statement before, too. I am very concerned that Putin has such a close alliance with Kissinger. And could it be that, we know that Kissinger is the father of the New World Order, practically, and his relationship with him, and as well, President-elect Donald Trump also has a close relationship with Kissinger as well. But, we're holding out that maybe something good would come out of this. But here's where the problem comes in, friends. Is Donald Trump even going to make it to office without us ending up in the middle of a war? U.S. tanks and soldiers in Poland pose a threat to Russia, according to the Kremlin. Now, the Kremlin is starting to say it. And friends, quite honestly, it's got to be a threat. I don't see how anything else you could consider it right now, because the amount of equipment that is going into Europe, especially Poland right now, is unprecedented at any other time in history. And the United States alone has sent nearly 1,500 pieces of equipment over there. When I say equipment, I'm talking about the big stuff. We're talking about the Abrams tanks. We're talking about the Bradley fighters. We're talking about, armored personnel carriers, things of that nature. But that's not even where it ends up at, guys. Looky here. Right here, even we find out Poland already happened. Our friend there over there at his Twitter account, there, investigative journalist there, says Poland seems a popular destination for military vehicles these days. Show the Netherlands armed forces transferring military hardware to Poland. I mean, it's not just the United States. Look at all the tanks lined up in the Netherlands, all headed to Poland. I mean, friends, is this really a military drill? They're on the train. They're headed there. And I'm thinking Russia may get caught off guard. Now, we know that Russia recently said they were downsizing their military presence there inside of Syria, sending back many of the warplanes to Moscow. Maybe Russia's concerned about an invasion, or maybe they're concerned that there's going to be a false flag that happens in Poland that justifies the NATO to do a strike on them. But you're seeing these images, huge long rail cars of the Netherlands tanks headed to Poland. Again, another view of these tanks here. So what's going on? I have no idea. But you know, I can't help but think about like these women that my wife interviewed the other day. The Israeli people and many of the Palestinian people want peace. And I think that's the same with the Europeans as well as even Americans wanting peace. Now, here's what's another thing that's very disturbing here. This was an image that already happened, just posted 28 minutes ago on his website. Now, it's not so much the tanks and the Hummers that we're seeing here, but we're going to look at this one here. Look at these huge machine guns that they mount on trucks and stuff like that. Look at all the ammunition that is coming in with this. It is just unbelievable what's going on. Guys, this is not this don't even look like a military drill anymore. And but you know, Russia's also kind of I think Russia's getting prepared as well. Now that Russia seems that this may be an inevitable situation. So I noticed that with Russia, Russia is actually as well. Let me see if I can pull this to the right place here real quick. I wanted to share with you some of Mikhail's things that he's showing there as well. But Russia also, Mikhail is posted on his own Twitter page, another investigative journalist there, that the Russians are bringing in, here it is right here. By the way, that's a welcoming ceremony there that he's sharing there. That was the Polish troops there welcoming the U.S. military there into Poland to back up their own forces. But here's one thing that Mikhail published on his side here. Russia, over 1.8 thousand modernized armament and military equipment items will become operational in the southern MD this year. So that's the southern region of Russia, down closer towards the Ukraine area is where he's talking about there. And another thing that I noticed here as well is more so the wording right here. U.S. Army Iron Ride has left Germany and entered Poland. The German flag was replaced with the Polish flag at the border of what they call Atlantic Resolve. Now, just the very name, Iron Rod, I could not help when I first saw this. I thought of the biblical passage about the Messiah when he comes, that he would rule with a rod of iron. And no doubt the Antichrist himself will pervert this for his own glory and use a real rod of iron, whereas I think it's more metaphoric than it is literal as far as that goes. But it's troubling. It's troubling, friends, on every side of the equation. You know, one thing I wanted to share with you, my wife reminded me of this again today. Nathan, the young Jewish young man that had died last year, seeing that Obama, he called Obama God, that he would actually lead the world against Israel. That he would have a war with Russia, it says. And people are saying, well, he's running out of time. Well, it looks like Obama's doing a pretty good job of getting that war ready to go before he even leaves office with all this buildup of troops. But Nathan said that Obama was God and that he would lead the nations down to Israel. But before they came, he said there would be a war with Russia that would last about 2 weeks, but there would be millions that would die as a result. He spoke about the 70 nations. He actually numbered it, 70 nations that would come against Israel. He said at first Russia would not come against Israel, but they would later join as well and come against Israel too. You cannot help but wonder if that's not right here with this Resolution 2334 that just came up in December, that the United Nations Security Council agreed upon December 23rd, 2016. And even in this document here, they are referring back to the forced return of Palestinian land. It says right here, guided by the purpose and principles of the Charter of the United Nations, reaffirming inter alia the inadmissibility of the acquisition of territory by force. Okay? Now, I think they're referring more to Israel in that case right there. But the whole point of this resolution, notice what it says, condemning all measures aimed at altering the demographic composition, character, and status of the Palestinian territory occupied since 1967, including East Jerusalem, including inter alia, and the construction of expansion of settlements, transfer of Israeli settlers, confiscation of land, demolition of homes, and displacement of Palestinian civilians in violation of international humanitarian law and relevant resolutions. Now, this was the one question I told my wife today. If I had the chance to meet John Kerry, I would definitely ask him, do you really think that the children of Israel, the Israelis of today, could ever trust the United Nations? Look at what they're writing right here. And yet it was the United Nations that in 1920 promised a Jewish homeland. There was no Palestinian state, no Gaza Strip, and there was no country of Jordan. All that territory was going to be given to the Jewish people for a Jewish homeland. 2 years later, in 1922, the United Nations again, which they were called League of Nations at that time, they changed their mind. They give everything to the east of the Jordan River to Abdullah, Hussein's son, for helping fight in the First World War against the Ottoman Turks. 25 years later, and by the way, when they give that to Hussein, they said to the Jewish people, well, you will get everything, and that's in their resolution, by the way, west of the Jordan River. Well, guess what? Come 1947, Resolution 181 changed all that again, and after they had already denied the Jews being allowed to come to the land they promised them for 6 years during World War II, and allowed them to be annihilated practically in a Holocaust in Germany by Himmler and Hitler and all the rest of those thugs, and allowed all the illegal immigration to be happening during that time, Egyptians and Jordanians to come into the land to occupy the land that they had already promised to the Jewish as a Jewish homeland. All been nothing but a pack of lies. So therefore, in my opinion, and based on what was promised originally, this document right here and every document since, even as far back as 1920 if you want to get technical, but even Israel would be willing to accept 1922 resolution as well, should be null and void. Everything west of that river should go to the Jewish people. And friends, it's only honorable thing to really do. Now, I say that in line also with the fact that the Israeli people, though, we should not annex land, we should not throw Palestinian people out. We can live in peace together and do it as a democracy. There can be freedom of religion, not Sharia law, but freedom of religion, to where if the Arabs want to practice what they want to practice, that's up to them. But the Jewish people can practice their own faith as well as the Christians can practice their faith. That's what a democracy really is. But this is absurd what they're doing. Now, by the way, I mentioned a minute ago how that Nathan saw this, that the 70 nations would come against Israel. I believe this is what's happening with this UN security resolution that's going on here in Paris, France. I believe that's what they're going to do. It may even be what ignites this war. This might be right about the time that we see something happen between Russia and the United States. I'm very concerned about this issue. But remember, Nathan also said that Russia would not at first come against Israel, but they would join in with them. Now, here's another article. A good friend of ours, a sister that sends us so many different incredible news things. I want to thank her for some of these things that we've gotten today, including the Israeli resolution there. But Fatah and Hamas are to visit Moscow January 15th through the 17th, 2017 for reconciliation talks. This is not reconciliation for the Jews. This is reconciliation between a notorious terrorist group from the eyes of Israel with Fatah, who also supports terrorism. The President Putin is bringing these two groups together in Moscow so that they can unite them together, which ultimately will turn against the Jews. I've said it before, I'll say it again. They've been planning a war to drive the Jews out so that they can forcibly take Jerusalem back. That's what this is all coming down to. But let me tell you something. United Nations, all you nations that are coming against Israel, I realize we reap what we sow. And I know Israel has done a lot of wrong things in their own past, and there's a lot of reaping that we have to do as well. But one thing's for sure, don't think that the Father above, in his all infinite wisdom, doesn't know what's going on, and that he won't send his two witnesses to first and foremost wake up Israel to who they really are. Which really, you don't need a United Nations resolution. You need the Jewish people to wake up to who they really are, children of the living God, to recognize, to live in peace with their neighbors. But you know, the thing is the world's not interested in peace. And neither is the Vatican, who's trying to take Jerusalem from them in order to be able to falsify a millennial reign and bring in some alien antichrist on the earth. You know, I realize every pope is an antichrist spirit to begin with, but I think that they're up to something even more sinister than that. And we're going to be going into that a little bit later. I just wanted to share some thoughts with you, friends, things that are on my heart here, especially, again, looking at this buildup of troops, unprecedented. If America's got 1,500 plus military equipment, tanks and everything, and then we got the other nations as well sending things to Poland, guys, it's not looking good. It's not looking good at all. Pray for us here. We do thank you. We thank you for your continued support in making these things possible. I think we'll be going to Poland pretty soon as well to try to see what's happening there. But it just doesn't look good. I'm Stephen Benoon. You're watching Israeli News Live, Erev Tov.